Hey, Coach. Thanks for joining us today for a couple of minutes.
Sure thing. How are you all doing?
Doing well, thank you. We will begin with Andrew Jones. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Mac singled out Bryson Nesbit last Sunday when we talked to him and spoke about his athletic ability, his speed, and how he played in a unique system in high school where he was spread a lot. So there's a lot of things that he can do. Can you kind of speak to what you've seen from Bryson through the first couple of weeks of practice and where you see some of his strengths and his upside?
Sure. Yeah, I think, I think about Bryson and one of the things that probably I don't think's been probably talked about a lot. We had a lot of early enrollees, and particularly in this state where they didn't play high school football until the spring. This past spring, there were a lot of guys that ended up not playing their senior year of high school and matriculated on here in North Carolina, or with us in the spring and all that. And it's a great advantage. And I think a lot of them took advantage of that, kind of being able to get a jump start. Bryson stayed, finished his basketball season, finished high school, graduated, was in that kind of place where he potentially could have graduated early and come in, but finished that and then played football in the spring. I think that really helped him. I think he was one of the guys that probably, I don't know what the percentage would be around America of seniors that stayed around, that had high school football in the spring, that stayed around and played in a situation like that. But that helped him to grow because he hadn't played as much. And I say all that just because I think it helped him when he came in, because he did get exposed to a little bit more. As you watched him, I'd sit and watch the live stream of his games just about every Friday night, back during the spring, because we couldn't go out and watch any games or anything, but you could get them. And you could see him improve. And so since he got here, I think athletically he can do some things naturally that allow him to make plays. And he has probably in the last 2.5 weeks, I would guess, he would have to tell you for sure, I would guess he's probably had more collisions in the last 2.5 weeks than maybe he'd had in his whole life put together as far as football was concerned. So it's such a diverse position in terms of what all you've got to be able to do. Physical in the run game, you got to be able to pass protect, you got to be able to run around and create separation and do something with the ball when you get it. And I think he's made improvements every day, and that's what you want. You want today to be your best day, every day. And that's for everybody that comes out, but especially guys that's really learning it. I don't think it's really stacked up on him at any point. I do think there's a camp wall or something that some guys hit. I think he's brushed up against it a couple times, but I don't think he's hit it to this point. So he's certainly got that's learning what to do, and probably makes a play a day. And so he does flash in that regard.
Garrett Walston is on the other end of the spectrum from Bryson. He's been around for quite a while. In fact, you've known him for a while. When you were at Georgia, you recruited him there as well. And he cited you as one of the reasons why he decided to take advantage of the super senior year and come back, because of what the team could do and because of what he might be able to achieve, because he wants to play at the next level. How have you seen him progress to where his opportunities at next level are going to be better now because he's come back?
Well, I think obviously we're excited to have him back. We did not, and he would tell you, we didn't actively recruit him. Myself, Coach Brown, Coach Longo, I don't think anybody actively recruited him to come back, because it really was his decision. You don't want to be a deal where a guy comes back and then it's you get into this part of the year where it's a little bit of a grind, or even back in the spring where the season's a long way away, and then they're like, man, I really want to come back here, where he did it on his own and he's kind of embraced this opportunity. I think short story version, he's been in this offense long enough now. He kind of knows the offense. He knows what is expected of him. He knows how we want him to do everything for the most part. So now it is, can I perfect my technique? Now it's, boy, I can really play really, really hard because I'm not having to think about anything. I can play faster. And I think that's what we've seen. He had a really outstanding day. It's probably, I lose track of the days right now. I just realized it was Friday, and early just this morning, a couple hours ago, but it was probably a week ago, maybe a week ago, Thursday or somewhere in there. And he had a great day, and he's really kind of taken off from there. I felt like it really kind of clicked in for him at that point. So I think he's taking advantage of that. He's doing a great job trying to lead, trying to bring Bryson along, and really all those other guys too, because it's a young room outside of, Garrett being a 17th year senior or whatever he is now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Go ahead, CL Brown.
Hi, Coach. Coach Brown talked about last season. It may be taking a little while for you and Coach Longo to get on the same page, so to speak, in terms of utilizing the tight end. I was curious in terms of the second half of last season. It seemed like Walston in particular had a lot more targets and catches. What changed? Like what was kind of the tweak that you guys made that kind of opened things up a little bit more for him?
I really don't know that there was a tweak per se in that. I think sometimes it's, it's amazing. People always ask, I think in all the years I've done this, every year, everybody always wants to know, are you going to throw it to the tight end? And that was whether they were catching 75 balls or 5, and I think sometimes the biggest thing to understand is kind of when things come off the sheet, when things get called, what areas of the field you're in, what coverages people play, and then so what's the progression in that. So there were some of those, even, you go back to some of the ones, obviously we had a couple of special plays in the bowl game, and that was a different deal, from the standpoint of where our personnel was, obviously, but then some of them were things we'd run 50 times, and it just so happened the ball found Garrett in that moment, in that game, on some of those concepts. That being said, I think all those guys in the room have really embraced what we're doing this year. I'm a big believer in, those who prove themselves reliable and dependable in practice get rewarded in the game. And so I think it's, as I tell them, every play is an audition. You get a lot of chances in practice to do certain things. Well, if you don't do them well, if you think, well, this may never live to see the light of game day or whatever, and you kind of halfway do it, then guess what? It's not going to, and so I think they've embraced the opportunities that they've had. And obviously you never know where that will go from here. Tight end's an odd position because some games it'll find you 8-10 times, some games it'll find you once. But at the end of the day, if we have more numbers on the board than whoever we're playing, I think we got a room, and myself included in that don't care. The bottom line is win the game.
And in what ways have you seen Kamari Morales improve this year?
Kamari, at the risk of, maybe this will challenge the other guys, because I say it in the room sometimes, but at the risk of saying it publicly and somebody get their feelings hurt. But I think Kamari is probably the most technical or fundamentally sound guy in the room. Kind of shows up, same guy every day, and brings great effort, great energy, great attitude, and really has been that way in the room. Coach Brown shows some effort plays every morning in the team meeting. I love that part of it, because sometimes it's stuff that you might not have seen someone else in another room do on a play. You're going through the tape, you're really focused on your guys or whatever, and you get to see how hard certain guys are playing. I think it helps the team. I think it becomes contagious, but every guy in that tight end room, from Garrett, Kamari, Will Crowley, Bryson, John, Copenhagen, all those guys have shown up at some point or another in the last 2 weeks on that effort tape. And it's like 3-4 clips a day from the offense, defense, and kicking game. And so it says a lot about him. And Kamari is kind of, in my opinion, a big leader in that regard. A guy who's really carving out a nice little niche for him, and has earned more playing time for us.
All right, thanks.
Go ahead, Gregory Hall.
John, what would you say is the group as a whole, their strength?
Wow, that's it's tough to say because we talk about so many things that you got to be able to do, and again, I talk about a lot of things that Coach Brown will say, and he will challenge us as position coaches a lot. And he'll talk about, here's the kind of list the 3 to 5 things your position has to do well, to be able to not only for a guy to be able to play, but then for us to win. And there really are, sometimes it's hard to limit it to 5, because like I said a minute ago, you got to be a great point of attack blocker. In our offense, you better be a great space blocker because of the bubble screens and some of the things on the perimeter that you have to do. You've got to be a really good route runner and be able to catch the ball and do something with it when you get it. You got to be a good pass protector, and sometimes that may be against an elite rusher, whether it be a defensive end or an outside backer or somebody on the other team. So all of those things that go into it. And it's kind of something that probably I just talked about, that I would say, if you said, what do they do best? They play hard as heck. And they do it every day. And my hat's off to them, because obviously you coach that, but I've coached that way for a long time, and you got to have guys that embrace that. I also think part of that is they know there's a lot of competition in the room, and they realize that for me as a coach and all our coaching staff, we don't care who's on the field as long as that's who's going to win the game, so that can be good and bad. If somebody's better at something than somebody else, they get on the field. If somebody's not giving effort, they can go sit down by me. And I think they know that it's a tremendously competitive situation, and the more depth you build, the more you get that way. But I think they play hard as heck, and generally speaking, they catch the ball. And I'm gonna hurt some feelings probably if somebody else out there hears this, but they catch it better, more consistently probably than as an overall group than any room I've ever been around in 30 years of doing it. And I say that doesn't mean, oh, they catch it great, we got to throw it to them every time. Well, there's still other things in it. You got to make sure you can get separation. You got to get open, and those kind of things. But they do, when it gets their hands, they get their hands on it, they can bring it in.
And going into the second scrimmage tomorrow, what are you hoping your guys accomplish, and what are you looking for out of them?
I really want to see us play fast, play with a sense of urgency. It all sounds like coach speak, but I think they've got a pretty good grasp of what we are doing. We've been working the heck out of how to do it. So I hope we're cleaning up some of the things. It looks like we've done some of the things fundamentally we're getting better at. And then we got to play fast. Obviously, tempo is critical early in the year, especially when it's warmer and those kind of things. I mean, you love to be able to play with tempo. And I think even the first game last year, we were a lot in better condition than Syracuse, and you saw it in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's when the game got to be out of hand a little bit, not the first three. So that's what I really want to see is be solid on your assignments, play fast, and again, I really want them to have fun. It's a game, it's a game. And you saw last year how quickly it can be taken from us, and enjoy every day we have together out here. And then obviously a chance to go in the stadium. I mean, it's even more fun there. It gets real when you go in there.
Ross Martin.
Hey, Coach Lilly, do you think Bryson Nesbit will play as a true freshman? I mean, will he see snaps, any significant amount of snaps?
I tell guys, and I really say this because I believe it. It's not just again, coach speak to get guys to try to work hard or whatever. I tell them they all need to prepare like they're going to play, because how fast can it be that whether you're a starter or a fifth teamer, that all of a sudden you've got a critical role. I also think these guys have different strengths. If you're starting to line them up, okay, this guy's stronger, this guy's faster, this guy's more physical, this guy can change direction better, whatever the case may be. So I think there are roles or niches for a lot of different guys in there. I think every guy in that room needs to prepare to play. And right now I don't have a lot of hesitation about playing any of them. I think they all can play. And that's why you're out here every day. You want to play. You don't want to just, put the uniform on.
And I think this is the first time we've talked to you since you were introduced. That was pre-COVID, back in January or February when you arrived at UNC. I was curious as to kind of how the adjustment's been, how you like coaching at UNC, living in Chapel Hill or the surrounding area, and how the process has been being at Carolina under Coach Mack Brown.
Sure, we live in Cary, so it's not too far away. I think a great area. This is a great area. I've always thought this was an awesome area, and the things you can do and things you can get to, and especially when you have younger kids like my wife Cheryl and I do. And it's been a lot of fun for us. Obviously, I've kind of joked even as we've gotten ready for the season, and you're trying to do just logistical things and all that. And I'm like, it's kind of like a first year. Usually after the first year, you kind of know how everything flows. Was different because last year was different for everybody. Whoever knew about a Zoom press conference, a year and a half ago or whatever. Now that may be the way it goes for the rest of the time. Y'all would know that better than me, but I think it's been great. Obviously Coach Brown's tremendous to work for. We got a great staff that enjoys being around each other. Our players are probably, they are as good a young men combined with being good football players as I've ever been around anywhere that I've been, top to bottom. Just great young men, been raised right. I was standing over there and I heard you ask Ruck about, kind of the hot seat deal that they do. And it's amazing how great they've come through a lot of stuff, and everybody has stuff in their lives and that you have to deal with every day. And it's pretty cool if you got guys on your right and left and front and back and all that to help carry you through stuff and for you to help carry them through it. It's a great atmosphere. It's been a lot of fun and looking forward to this year too.
You've coached a bunch of different places. I mean, what stands out about UNC? It's maybe different than other places. I mean, every school is unique and every program is unique.
I'm going to say this because it's kind of fresh in my mind, but our first meeting every day when they have school is at 6:30 a.m. And when I first heard that, and no, I'm not throwing stones at any place I've been before, but I was like, wow, how many guys walk in late to that one, and I don't know there's been a guy late since I've been here. And that's with all the logistical changes last year. I mean, some days you weren't sure where you were meeting, like, oh, we're going to meet here. And then 20 minutes before, no, we had to move here and do this. And then again, the academic report is usually very clean, in terms of who was late for something, who missed something, whatever. And when you got people that are committed to kind of living their lives the right way, doing things the right way, and don't get me wrong, I've seen some great players that might have missed the study hall here or there or whatever, or been late to a meeting or whatever. And some things happen, but I think that's it. I think they take care of each other. I think they're very accountable. They're very highly disciplined and are very smart. They can learn what we throw at them. They can learn very quickly. We make a lot of adjustments kind of on the fly at times, and they adjust to it and keep rolling. And it's a great credit to them and to the people that raised them.
Great. Thanks.
All right, we'll swing right back to Gregory Hall for a last question for Coach.
I'm curious how often you use maybe NFL examples from your experience with your guys when talking in meeting rooms, watching film and things like that. How often does that come up? Or is it something that they kind of maybe come up to you one-on-one and ask you about themselves and things like that?
I probably did more last year because I was coming from that world, and that was more what I had kind of more recently in my career. And if it was something I couldn't show them doing it or someone doing it here, in 2019 or whatever, then I would, pull something from out of those things. Every once in a while, there'll be something, it might be something about a little way to run a route because obviously guys that are experienced at that level, it's a different game. Nobody can touch you after 5 yards up there. So, I mean, they're yanking, grabbing, pulling, banging you around at 20 yards down the field here or whatever, so it's still a different world. But obviously you see some elite guys and even maybe not guys I've coached, but guys that I have seen do things. But I pull from everything. I love the history of the game. And shoot, we watched a play the other day as I was trying to emphasize hustle. And I went back and I may get the year wrong now, but Alex Mars, who is one of our quality control guys, was here then, and I had him pull it up because I remembered it, and I couldn't remember exactly what year it was, but it was Giovanni Bernard hustling down the field against Duke, and like 3 minutes to go in the game, and they're down, and the ball, they get a long pass, and the ball gets knocked out, and if he's just standing back there watching the play, the game's over, and he hustles down the field and ends up scooping the ball and running it for a touchdown, just to emphasize effort. And I don't know, it was like 2012 or 13 or something, whenever it was, but it was a great play that I just remembered a guy making. So I wasn't here back then, but I remembered, I used that as an example. So really anything that presents a visual, I show them little movie clips sometimes, and things like that. Anything that presents a visual, whether it's the NFL or something else, if it's something that they can grasp and remember, then we'll use it.
Great. Coach, thanks for a few minutes of your time this morning.
Sure thing. Thank you all. Y'all have a nice day.